So as a leader, have you ever wondered if quitting was the wrong thing to do? Or maybe just like the thoughts of quitting get you to feel like just some weirdness, like you're never going to actually be able to succeed? If that's the case, then today's video is for you. Are you ready? Let's go. So thinking that quitting is always the wrong thing to do is actually preventing us from evolving into the process of that next version of us. Here's the thing, as a leader, if we're trying to force things that aren't working, that is a recipe for disaster, right? It's called burnout. And I can understand why you might think that quitting is actually bad. I mean, we have all of these things that we've literally heard and been taught in the past that like we should keep going. When we fall down, get up another time. Now, when I think about this idea of quitting, and I know I've talked to a lot of people, especially leaders who have this fear of quitting, they don't realize that they actually haven't identified what the word quitting means. So today what I want to do is I really want to reframe this idea of quitting because sometimes quitting is the most important decision that you can make. You actually need to stop something before something new can be born. And if you keep forcing it, you're going to be experiencing burnout. So you ready to dive in? All right. So first, what we're going to do is I want you to define what quitting actually means. Sometimes we have these words that like we say or we think leadership, quitting, whatever, and we literally don't even slow down enough to actually define what that means. So I want you to ask yourself, like, what does quitting mean to you? Does quitting mean stopping something so you can create something new? Does quitting mean making a decision, a different decision because that thing is not working out the way that you want it to? Or does quitting to you mean that means stopping everything and giving it all up? I know for me personally, that's what quitting means. But sometimes I feel like when I stop doing so that I can have more room for things to do, like to do the things that are the most important, that I'm actually giving up. And in reality, I'm not. I just got to reframe it. So I really want you to start by asking yourself, what does quitting mean to me? Then I want you to think about like what part of that equation has to do with you. Most of the time it doesn't. When we sit down and we identify what those specific words mean. Now, once you've identified what quitting actually means to you, I want you to think about like what's actually coming up for you right now in terms of like, you're getting the tug of like, hey, pay attention here. Like we need to stop doing something here. We need to make an adjustment here. We need to like change directions here. This is when you have to start really asking those tough questions. Like what really is pulling and tugging on me now that's telling me, Mark, we need to do something different. Now, this could definitely be an area where you're just uncomfortable. Maybe you're just uncomfortable. You haven't done it in enough time. Now, for me, I always give myself 6 months. So whenever I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start a new YouTube channel. I'm going to start a new podcast. I'm going to start doing this. I say, I'm going to give it 6 months because I need to give it enough time so that I can grow through that process. If you watch some of the videos, and I apologize, but I've actually deleted them. Some of the videos from me 8 or 9 years ago when I first started on YouTube were terrible. Even worse than the ones that they are now. But I was like, oh my God, like this is terrible. If I had just given up a week or two later, I would have never been able to develop myself into the person that's literally in front of you here today. And so it's an important part of that process to get uncomfortable and to do things regardless of whether or not you feel uncomfortable or not. But if you've been putting in the time and energy and effort and you've learned some things from that, taking that to that next step, to that next evolution is important. And you need to really identify what those things are that you can stop doing so you can start creating something new. So after you've been able to identify what quitting actually means and really focus in on an area that's like tugging you of like, you know what, you can better effectively use your time and energy here. Maybe it's something that you absolutely hate doing. Maybe it's something that you love doing, but you aren't actually getting results. What's a different way that I can really maximize my time and my energy in this area? Now, I want to bring up one super important piece of this puzzle, all right? The reason why this is so important is because in order for us to create something new, something old must die. Now, hear me out here. If we're constantly doing, we don't have the time, the space, the energy, or anything really to download new ways of doing it. To think about things from the bird's eye view because we're in the constant doing mode. Now, when it comes to leaders, I find that we are high performers. We're constantly doing. What's so powerful about that though, is if you give yourself some space, you give yourself some time. I like to think of it as silence. You take things off of your schedule and you just have times to think and download different answers. You will be amazed at the kind of answers that you come up with. And here's the thing, those things could have been literally right in front of you. But because you were so busy doing, because you were constantly not willing to quit things, you would have never been available for the world, for God, for the universe, whatever you believe in to download those answers to you. So really making sure that you have that time and space, even if you're going to quit something and stop something, do less of it so that that you can actually create something new. You don't even need to know what that new thing is right now. You just need to give yourself the time and the space to find it. All right, guys. Now, what I want you to do is I really want you to set some time for you to have silence this week. Really listen to yourself. Do I need to quit this thing? What is a better use of my time and energy? And how can I give myself this silence to really download new answers so that I can become that next version of a leader? Because that's what it's all about. It's about evolution, not forcing things that aren't working and not forcing things that you've always done in the past. It's about thinking differently. That's what we do as modern leaders. We see things through our leadership lens. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so you can get 2 different short videos every single week. I appreciate you so much and keep leading from the front. See you guys soon.